The national PorchFest movement has come to roost for the past 2 years in Jamaica Plain. The free performances organized by the community are attracting more performers and listeners. There's also a sequel this Saturday in South Boston on a piece of green space next to the convention center on D Street. To tell us about the PorchFest on the lawn at D are the JP PorchFest organizers, Mindy and Marie Ghitman. Thank you very much for being with us.
Yeah, pleasure.
I want to talk with, start with Mindy. What's this event? If you haven't seen and heard one of these, what's going on?
You mean at the Lawn and D?
No, at the PorchFest that you've just had here.
Well, PorchFest is, first of all, there are 22 PorchFests around the country. We were numbered 20, and we were inspired by Somerville initially. But our goal was to bring people together across race, culture, class, through the vehicle of arts, performing and enjoying the arts. And so people play music on porches throughout the neighborhood, and we work really hard to engage as many people in the neighborhood to offer their porches and play on them. And then, yeah.
Marie, talk about that sense of the neighborhood in a very physical way, because you walk down streets that are just filled with pedestrians. You sit on people's porches without asking for permission. It's a different world.
Yeah, it's a very different world, and that's, as Mindy was saying, the goal is to kind of open up the neighborhood, open up people's usually more private spaces to make them into public venues and invite everybody and be really inclusive of everyone in the neighborhood. So anyone walking by is welcome to come in. We call them porches. Many people use their yards or their patios or driveways, and so all of that space becomes available to everyone. And a lot of the feedback we've been getting after this last year's event is that people met neighbors they've never met before who live really close by, and they danced with people from other parts of the neighborhood who they would never have met in another way. So yeah, it really opens up the private space.
Well, you talk about some of the other borders being crossed here, because you've got performance, you've got audience, but you also have, commerce interwoven with this too.
Yeah, well, we've over this past year, we've really worked hard to develop more partners among community organizations, nonprofit groups, as well as with business. So we've worked with the Main Street organizations in Hyde-Jackson, Eggleston, and also Center South, and have encouraged businesses to sponsor us, or if not that, just to be part of the event. One thing that we're doing this year is we're surveying merchants to find out what impact PorchFest is having on their business, not just the day of, but also in a more sustained way, because we know that we had 10,000 people who came to Jamaica Plain on the day of PorchFest. Many of them were JP people, but there were a lot of people who came from outside of the neighborhood, from all parts of Boston and beyond. So we want to know if people were exposed to a particular business. Are they going to go back and buy that burrito or have coffee in a particular place? Is it an economic driver? And we believe that it is.
Marie, I saw all those people flowing through the brewery complex. You've got some eating, drinking places there. It must have done them some good.
We think it has. We'll find out when we get the data back, but we definitely have heard from people who are friends of ours who were customers looking for sandwiches, couldn't find a sandwich because everybody had sold out, and there were lines in all the businesses from what we could see. Yeah, the businesses were very busy that day.
Mindy, talk about the Lawn on D event, because I still can't see this as a neighborhood yet. Everybody says it's going to be a neighborhood someday, and so explain how this fits into that.
Well, I think we're most wanting to communicate the feeling of a porch-based or neighborhood festival, but it's really not a porch fest in the traditional sense. People will not be playing music on porches, but what we are doing is transforming two of the stages into porch-like stages. So we'll have railings and we'll have porch furniture. We have actually James Hoban, a muralist painter, is going to be painting a backdrop that will look like a kind of a triple decker. So it's kind of a faux porch fest, but our goal really is to introduce the idea of PorchFest to people, because ultimately what we'd like to do is expand PorchFest to Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan and other neighborhoods around Boston.
Right. Marie, talk about the setting here. It's right next to the convention center, and there are places across the street where people live, but right now people think, what's it like there?
Yeah, it's different every day. So if you went today, it would be a little bit different tomorrow. It's changing really quickly. And I think when the lawn started, the lawn opened August a year ago, August 15th, 2015, and there was not that much housing around there, and now there's a huge amount of housing. But I think they're drawing from all over Boston. They're drawing crowds from everywhere, and that's their goal, is not so much to make entertainment for the people who live there, but more to bring all kinds of people from other parts of Boston.
Mindy, as far as the mix here too, talk about the performers, because this is going to be pretty varied.
Right, and again, going along with our idea of expanding PorchFest to other Boston neighborhoods, we have invited not just Jamaica Plain musicians, but also musicians from Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan. And we're having conversations with those people about the possibility of expanding, creating PorchFest in other neighborhoods, because it's such a simple concept, and in some ways, while there's a lot of logistics involved, it makes so much sense in terms of what it can do for a neighborhood.
Marie, I see these performers putting a lot of effort into this, and I know they get some exposure, but when I consider the effort, even for that string ensemble of Far Cry, why do they do it?
We ask ourselves that a lot.
You're not paying them direct money for this.
We're not paying them. Well, for Lawn on D event, we are paying them, but for PorchFest itself, no one gets paid, and we're always amazed at how enthusiastic people are to perform. But they tell us afterwards, they get a really great crowd. One musician said people actually stop and really listen. It's a very unique performing experience. And yeah, they get a lot of exposure and a guaranteed enthusiastic crowd.
Mindy, we should give a little more detail on the time and place and where people can get more information about the upcoming event.
So it's happening next Saturday, which is August 8th, from 3 until 9 p.m. We'll have musicians playing throughout the day, and then there's a headliner band from 8 till 9, which is Debo Band, an Ethiopian band, headed up by Danny McConnon, who's a local Jamaica Plain musician. And we will have circus artists who will be roaming around the lawn, and we'll also have kind of fun and participatory arts-based experiences. So, including, for example, make your own tutu. If anybody's been dying to wear a tutu, this is where you can learn how to make one. And a booth called Ask a Teenager. And we have a group, we're working with Meta Movement Latin Dance Company, who are, they have an internship program over the summer. So we have a group of teens from that group that are going to be answering questions. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Thank you both very much, Mindy Freed and Marie Ghitman.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
JP PorchFest. We'll have more news in just a moment.